Good morning. Welcome. This is the City Council Candidate Forum for Ward 3. Yes. This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson. I am Linda Heffernan. I will be your moderator today. I do not live or vote in Ward 3, so I'm pretty neutral here. Don't have any skin in the game on this one. I would like to also introduce my colleagues from the League who are here. Betsy Woodhouse and Barbara Becker are going to be question sorters. And they too do not live or vote in Ward 3. And today we have lovely Ganthier. I knew I had to sit and think for a moment. Ganthier and Shelley Erickson, who will be our timers. So you'll see little paddles going up like this. This means that it's giving the candidates a clue about how much time they have left. All right? And then today also Susan Black, Mary Davis, and Janice Chris will be walking around and gathering your questions. We respectfully acknowledge that the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is on the land of the indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being the home to the Tohono O'odham and to the Pasquayaqui people. And I'll just say now, if you have any recordings going on, please stop this instant. We do not permit any kind of video or audio recording. We are recording ourselves, and we will be posting this recording on the League of Women Voters website. So take those phones, stick them somewhere, please. So you know, when you sat down, you saw some 3x5 cards and some pencils. That's for you to write down questions and hand them to people walking around in the room who have, who have the League of Women Voters sign on, and they will give them to the question sorters. We sort them just to make sure we don't end up with duplicate questions, and so that we can get the most questions in for this 1 hour that we have. There are 3 candidates, and you can see that they have their table tents in front of them: Kevin Dahl, Sadie Shaw, and Janet Wittenbraker, and we welcome them. We're so glad that they said yes and that they're here. Due to the allotted time, we may not get to every question. We're going to say sorry in the beginning, but they will be around, so ask them after the forum is over. If your question is burning a hole in you, pick them up, ask them then. When we invited the candidates to this forum, we had outlined a set of ground rules, which I thought we had here. All right, we ask that the audience also abide by these ground rules, and they're essentially pretty simple. No standing up and shouting. No getting up and wandering around. Of course, if you have to use the facilities, please. Down the hall. No shouting campaign signs or slogans or having signs. So if you've got those, please, out the door. And essentially creating the respectful audience that you would like to have if you were sitting here, and that you would like to have from the people sitting next to you. So there's a lot to learn about this election, and we want to give them time to tell us everything. No video recordings, audio recordings, I just said that. We're going to be doing that for you, and they will be on our website. So please go to our website and look at them again, because you may have, perhaps you didn't get all that they said, and you want to get a little more information. We also have a YouTube channel. Down at the bottom of our website is a little button. Click on that and you can look at it that way as well. So you will see my colleagues, Lovely and Shelley, putting up their signs occasionally. That is so that you will know that the candidates also know that they have so much time left. Maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds, and maybe stop. And if stop goes up and people over to my left keep talking, I will be saying, "Thank you," in some fashion, in which case, if they don't completely stop saying it when I say thank you, believe me, I'll be revving that up a bit. You'll know that it's time. We want to give everybody the same chance to answer the questions. They have the same amount of time. So that's why we do it that way. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves, 90 seconds to respond to a question, and 90 seconds at the end for a concluding statement. If we have a little more time, I know that we will be able to move on those closing remarks. We're going to rotate who goes first with each question so everybody has a moment to think about it, as they hear the question. And I have decided that we're going to begin with the person closest to my left and simply move down question by question. All right? That's what we'll be doing. We ask the audience not to clap, not to sing, not to stomp, not to dance. At the end of the forum, we can all clap and cheer, and we're going to say thanks and show our appreciation for everyone who came as informed voters and as candidates. So, I think we're ready for the first question. Oh, yes, see? Already, I'm so excited, I want questions. So, let's have some introductions.
All right. Well, my name is, can you all hear me okay? I've been informed by the guy at the end of the table that my microphone will work just fine, so I just want to double check, just to be careful. My name is Janet Wittenbraker. I am the Republican candidate for Ward 3. I am active in my community. I am committed to my community, and I want better for my community. My qualifications are supported by 30, plus years of professional work experience, plus an advanced degree in legal studies from ASU Law. I was also previously employed by the city manager's office, and that's where I learned that your day-to-day lives are more impacted by who's sitting in the City of Tucson Council than who's in the White House. And it was during this time that I also learned that we have a very disappointing voter turnout. It is tragic for a city our size that only 24% to 21 to 24% of our voting demographic actually shows up and votes. And as such, we don't have any diversity in voice on our council. And that is why I'm running, to be that alternate voice, offering solutions with your backing, not on my own reconnaissance, but from you. And for that, I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Sadie.
Hello, everyone. Before I begin, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this important forum. I know many of you already, but for those who I don't know, my name is Sadie Shaw. I am a mother and arts administrator over at the Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona. I'm a neighborhood advocate in Ward 3, specifically in my neighborhood of Sugar Hill. And I'm also a school board member in Tucson Unified. I'm in my 5th year at Tucson Unified. I was reelected in November to serve my 2nd term. And so, I didn't expect to run for city council, but I decided to do so because I don't believe that we can handle another 4 years of the same leadership. You can see the state of our parks, the state of our roads, the state of our neighborhoods. Over at the Neighborhood Association, we have been advocating for improvements. Many of them have not arrived. And, driving down Stone Avenue, going down Oracle, Fairview, these are streets that haven't been improved since I was a girl, if even before that. And so despite the resources that the city does have to fix our roads, our parks, many of those resources go to the most affluent areas of Tucson before they end up in the areas where they're needed most. I'm a strong advocate in TUSD. I'm the squeaky wheel who always fights for the rights of the most marginalized people in the district, and I'm prepared to do that at City Hall. I'm very comfortable being the lone voice of reason in TUSD, and I am prepared to do the same at the city level. That's why you should vote for me. I do think we need diversity in leadership. I'm the youngest candidate for Ward 3. If elected, I will also be the first African-American woman to ever serve on the city council. And so I'm here to represent all of us, not just folks in my neighborhood, but people in Ward 3 and people in Tucson who have felt unrepresented for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. Kevin, you're up.
Good morning. I'm your current Ward 3 City Councilman, and I love my job. I could easily be retired, but I think of this as a continuation of my career. I've long been worked to protect the environment and to protect people. I ran for this job because people recruited me. They wanted someone working on climate change, water, and quality of life for neighborhoods. At Ward 3, we have done that. We are working to reduce Tucson's carbon emissions, but climate change is also an equity issue. The most vulnerable neighborhoods are the most impacted. We work for resiliency in these neighborhoods. Some specifics, providing low-income homeowners the ability to get solar, funding low-income utility bill relief, planting more trees in the hottest, which is also the more poorest neighborhoods, adding open days and hours to community pools. My ward is especially working hard for pools, the best place for kids to recreate in the summer, and for our parks. A snapshot of other accomplishments. We've fought for better amenities and management of public parks and renamed Doris J. Thompson Park and Danny Lopez Park. We've pushed Tucson to adopt an ordinance that stopped predatory towing companies from ripping off the unsuspecting. Now we have the best towing ordinance in the state. This is the third year that in our community room at the Ward 3 office, a refurbished, decommissioned fire station on Grant Road, which doesn't get much use in the summer. We host a cooling center run by St. Francis Shelter Community. It provides mostly respite and wraparound services for people who are unsheltered, and I'm proud that people who have arrived there have been able to eventually find housing. Recently, I helped with colleagues find a few dollars to support a popular preschool program. I've lived in the ward for decades. I'm married to a retired special education teacher. We're the proud parents of Brian, who goes as hashtag the guy who dances on Congress.
So you can get more from that, from Kevin, after the forum is over, so that you will know more about his family. Okay, you ready? Everyone, questions coming. So we begin with Janet. How will you ensure that you and your staff are open and available to all, including parents, elderly, disabled, etc.? What will your office hours be?
My office hours will be Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, normal business hours, plus alternate weekends. Not everyone is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, but they want to reach their city council member. Currently, the council office is open only 4 hours a day. Some availability on appointment, but the feedback that I have received from the doors I have knocked on is they're mostly unavailable. You are paying your city council close to $97,000 a year. You deserve that person to be available to you during normal business hours and beyond. Being an elected official is not a 9-to-5 job, or in this case, a 9-to-1 job. It is a full-time job, and that's what I will do for all of you.
Thank you. Sadie.
I will also be available during normal business hours, and we will expand it into after work. As Janet said, Kevin's office has been very comfortable with the 9-to-1 hours, and that is completely unacceptable. Many folks who are working can't show up before 5, and so I am also interested in exploring having our office open later till 7 on the weekends. Kevin's not working in a silo. He has 6 other staff members, and all of those folks are well paid, and they should be available to all constituents. I've also heard that the folks at the Ward 3 office aren't as accessible as they should be. Depending on the issue that you're bringing them, they may not even call you back, and this is something I've heard from many, many people. If elected, I plan to, answer every call people back, those who leave a message. I'm open to meet with everyone despite what their issues are.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kevin, your shot.
Thank you. We're going to be remaining open from 9 to 1. It works for us. It works for 95% of our constituents. We have not gotten any complaints about this. I have specific complaints of people who say we don't meet with them enough. Usually it's people who we've already met with and time again, and we haven't been able to solve their problems. I have wonderful staff, and the person who runs the office was insulted by this debate because she often is there past 1, and if someone knocks on the door, she opens the door. This is not the 1950s. Walking through the door is not the only way to reach us. There's the internet, there's phones. Me and my staff are out in the community. We publish a widely respected email newsletter on Fridays, and if you go back through those, you can see we're out there a lot. Not the only office that does this. When I started, it was just past COVID, and our office was closed completely. It's a new day. We're not a Circle K where we have to be open to customers all the time. People can reach us, and we are good at getting back to people who've reached out. Thank you.
Thank you. So I would like to just ask the candidates to address the issues rather than each other as we go through. I think I would appreciate knowing what you think about the things that are happening and will be happening rather than what is something being done or not done by someone who's either an incumbent or is hoping to be an incumbent. Agreed?
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
with all due respect, the incumbent's record should be challenged.
And you have many choices and many opportunities to challenge it, and I hope that you will, because I think that's part of the process. I'm going to ask that we not do it today. What more, and we begin with you, Sadie, what more can be done to connect people who are unhoused with medical care and treatment?
Well, I know there's a lot in the works as far as the opioid settlement goes. They've allocated a lot of money, $8 million a year, that they'll be sharing with Pima County, Marana, and Sarita, I believe. And so really we need to make sure that these resources are being utilized. Many folks who have been reached out to, they do deny services, but it takes, building trust. And so speaking to folks at the health department, it can take anywhere from 7 to 9 engagements for folks to finally accept any sort of resources that the city does provide. And so we need to make sure that we're not causing harm when we're going out there and meeting with folks who do have an issue with substance use, and building that trust, providing them resources, things like water, food, and not creating barriers and obstacles that are going to have people run away from us when we go out into the streets and try to offer services.
Thank you. Kevin, same question.
What could we do? We could have a modern medical healthcare system, healthcare for all. We're spending so much money on insurance and people who do paperwork. Of all the industrial countries, we have the worst healthcare. It's just horrible. The City of Tucson health issues is not part of our bailiwick. We've agreed that Pima County does all of the stuff. So all of our healthcare work is done in conjunction with Pima County, and we have reports regularly from the director of the health department. We do the outreach, both first responders in public safety, but also we have the Community Safety, Health, and Welfare Agency in the City of Tucson, which was set up when I was a city councilman. And they are well trained to know what services are available to the people that they are helping.
Thank you. Janet, your turn.
To Kevin's point, yes, the healthcare falls on Pima County. And to Sadie's point, yes, there is a horrendous trust issue. And we're unable to reach those that we're trying to reach, no matter who the facilitator of that care is. At the end of the day, a majority of our homelessness is caused by substance abuses and mental illness. And oftentimes they go hand in hand. We need to address the root cause before we can address care and building that trust. People need help. The people on our streets are suffering. And it's unfair to them to pretend like the problem doesn't exist, that they only need medical care. We need tough decisions, tough leaders, tough elected officials who are willing to make tough choices.
Thank you. Kevin, your turn to be up first. Ready?
Yeah.
What will you do about red light running and speeding on streets?
When I was elected, the Tucson police were not doing any traffic at all because it was right after COVID. The Tucson police have now set up pretty active traffic enforcement. Before I was elected, we had red light cameras, and it was a vote of the people of Tucson who took that away from us. I would like to see red light cameras come back. A lot of the worst accidents happen at intersections. But we will have to take it, I believe, to the voters. The other thing that's happened is speeding that's concentrated because people are doing racing, especially on the streets that have just been redone and are smooth. They do it late at night. They use social media. Again, Tucson police have a special force that are working to do that and are using some techniques that people may not like, but using planes and drones. We don't want high-speed chases, but the drones and the planes can follow the people who are home and get them at their homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet?
Of course. Red light running, traffic violations. I don't know if you all know this, vehicular accidents is still a leading cause of death for people in America. And we've seen much of that in Tucson. We need stricter and more stringent enforcement of our traffic laws. We need better timing of our intersections. And we also need consistency. We have many visitors that come here to Arizona, southern Arizona, for our beautiful weather. And at one intersection, it's green arrow first, and at another one, it's followed by the green arrow. We need that consistency followed by enforcement and stringent enforcement. It's unacceptable. And if any one of you have lost a family member due to a traffic incident, you know how very tragic it is.
Thank you. Sadie, your turn.
Thank you. I think we all can agree that traffic in Tucson is horrendous, and there's really a serious problem as far as red light running, speeding, racing on our roads. I do support the instituting of red light cameras again. When they were out, I remember folks slowing down more, and some people I knew even got a ticket from that, and I know it would have to go out to voters, but I'm willing to do that so that we can find more ways to get people to just stop breaking the law and putting everyone in danger. I also think that, as far as policing goes, we should put out those cameras that can monitor your speed, and if you're going too fast, hey, you'll get a ticket in the mail. We need to do what we can because, as Janet said, people do lose their lives. I almost lost my life to someone who was running a red light. And in many ways, we do have the power to do things. There's technology, and
Thank you.
I'm out of time now. Thank you.
Catch her after the form. So now we begin at this point with Janet again as first question answerer. Are you concerned about ICE overreach, and what would you do about their deporting without due process?
I am not. We have legal immigration in this country, and those immigration laws have been broken, and ICE is doing what their job is. It is not the City of Tucson's job to get involved. The city charter is very specific on what the city government is to do for you. The moment you have a city government that overreaches those responsibilities is the moment you lose control of your city government. ICE will do ICE. City of Tucson should do the City of Tucson, focused on our high crime, our high violent crime rate, our poverty rate, our roads, and our parks and public safety. That is the job of your city government.
Sadie, your question.
I am very concerned about the overreach of ICE. I disagree with Janet about, with the city charter and the laws of our local governments. They're violating our Constitution, the constitutional rights that are given to everybody who steps foot onto U.S. soil, despite them being a citizen or not. And I'm very concerned about these constitutional rights being violated for citizens and non-citizens alike. Everyone deserves due process. Everybody who may be in contact with law enforcement, they should have a warrant served on them before they, enter your home. And these are constitutional rights that we have that should be protected, but they're being violated across the board. It's scary what's happening, and if it's happening to folks who may or may not be in this country, or may or may not be a citizen, then it could happen to anyone. It's happened to citizens, okay? People who serve this country. And we need to make sure that it doesn't happen anymore.
Kevin, same question.
Yeah, I'm outraged by the weaponization of ICE to remove people who are not criminals, who are caught in an immigration system that is broken. We had a bipartisan immigration reform package that Congress was going to pass until President Trump asked his Republican counterparts in Congress not to pass it. So people are stuck. They've come here for a good life. They are harvesting our crops. They're making beds in hotels. They're cooking our food. Criminals, of course, should be caught and taken away. What should the city of Tucson do about it? Well, our police are not going to cooperate with ICE. They're not going to be agents of ICE. Should there be protests, they will be there to protect people. But that's the stance of the city of Tucson, and I agree with that completely. Small businesses are being affected. A friend of mine who runs a Mexican...
Thank you. There possibly will be time to speak about that later. I just want to do a check. Everyone can hear now? We've moved the microphones a little closer. Yeah? Okay.
Last time I listened to Kevin.
All right. So we're going to begin with the next question. Sadie, you have the honor of being up first. What are your thoughts about the VIVA, which is Violence, Interruption, and Vitalization Action, sites in Ward 3? Do you feel that this program has been effective?
Well, I've heard that it has been effective, and I think we need to be creative and innovative with our violence problem, and Viva is one of those creative solutions that have been instituted. And so I think it has been successful. I've seen some of the numbers, but it can't be the only solution to this violence problem that we have here. We have to make sure that folks are not afraid to call the police if there's an issue that they're having. There's a big mistrust in law enforcement, and that's real. And so, it's unfortunate that someone might be in a situation where they're unsafe, but they decide not to call law enforcement just because of the reputation that they carry locally and nationally. And so I think we also need to create other options for folks who may not want to deal specifically with law enforcement, because the VIVA program, although it's connected with the city of Tucson, it does work closely with our police department.
Thank you. Kevin, same question.
Yeah, VIVA came out of a federal grant called Place-Based Network Investigations that was designed to work on areas that have high gun violence. Alvernon and Grant was the first one. We now have 4 of them. The second one in Ward 3 is a corridor along Fort Lowell from Oracle to Mountain. It's initially police, and they'll go in there before any other agencies and do some undercover work, because we know there's a lot of not just gun violence, but also a lot of drug dealing in these areas. In addition to the police, every Tucson agency that has some benefit to people, to residents, to businesses are also involved. My office has been involved in both areas. We do resource fairs. We work with neighborhood associations. And it's been so successful that the city, in our new budget starting July 1st, is setting up an Office of Violent Prevention so that we can do some of this work outside of those specific areas. I'm really happy that was started and that we're continuing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Janet, your turn.
Full disclosure, when I first went to a VIVA meeting, I think I dislocated my eyeballs from rolling my eyes so often. They were sitting in the room and they were talking about having talking circles and how this was affecting, was going to have a positive influence and change the narrative of violent crime here in Tucson. And I walked away a skeptic. But I'm also a person who listens and watches and observes, and I've seen some success in that program. So I say, let's build on that program and partner with other fine organizations that have seen success, such as the Crime Free Coalition. Also, plus working with every constituent and their ideas, and our police officers. I also think we need to get our police officers back into the schools, build that trust.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we now start with this question, and Kevin, you have first shot at it. What more can the city do to address properties whose owners for years have not taken the necessary actions to fix ongoing problems with criminal activity and violence?
Vacant and neglected buildings are a huge problem because not only does it look bad, but it creates spaces for people to do bad things. The city can do more, and has started to do more. We use code enforcement, people who investigate infractions of codes, which most of the vacant buildings have infractions, and we require the owners to clean up, or eventually we go and do it. And eventually we go to court. The money that we spend doing it, we recoup after the property is sold. I want us to go to court more often to recoup that money right away and to force the property owner to think about it. Recently I was in court over the building at the corner of First and Fort Lowell, the old food giant.
Thank you. All right, another question you can follow up on after the forum. Janet, your turn.
Can you repeat that
Absolutely.
question? Yeah.
What more can the city do to address properties whose owners for years have not taken the necessary action to fix ongoing problems with criminal activity and violence?
Of course, there's a city charter and the code enforcement division of the housing program. And that's important, but it's also important to make sure we're not harming those people in need. So we need to have a way of mitigating. Is it truly a crime situation, or is it the fact that one of our neighbors needs help? Now, your city officials can help in mitigating some of that impact of the code enforcement and the requirements thereof. But you as constituents need to be involved in your neighborhoods as well. If you see crime, report crime. If you have a neighbor in need, help that neighbor. That's what I do. That's how I initially got involved in my community. I started cleaning the washes because I was so disgusted by the debris.
Thank you. Sadie, your turn for the question.
Thank you. So some of the vacant homes in Sugar Hill are, the folks who live within them are relatives whose families used to own those houses. So as Janet said, some of these vacant properties that the question kind of relates to criminal activity, people squatting in them, these folks are simply just staying in a place that used to be theirs. In other cases, there is criminal activity, and this whole VIVA program that is supposed to reduce crime in the city is something that I have never heard about until I really became a candidate. It's not something that was promoted at our neighborhood association meetings, and I've been involved for years. And so, if there are programs to reduce crime in our neighborhoods, then we need to promote them at the neighborhood meetings, and they're not being promoted. We don't know those resources are available. If we knew about them, perhaps we would be able to do more than simply just call 911 and keep bothering folks. And when folks do call 911 when there is an issue, sometimes those issues don't get addressed for a very long time.
Thank you. All right. Our next question begins with Janet? No, Kevin, sorry. See, this is what happens when you don't put a check mark. Do you support our current at-large election system? And if so, why? If not, why?
Can I ask for clarification, at large meaning the hybrid system that we have?
Correct, so that the ward residents vote for the ward in the primary, and then the city votes at large.
I see my friend Jim Sinix in the audience, and I'm sure the question came from him. I do support it at this point. I understand, having lived it, that running for office, Ward 3 has 90,000 people. We get connected to the ward that our ward office is expected to serve. But I'm also making votes, setting policy, setting a budget for the entire city. And so it makes sense that the entire city gets a crack at supporting me or not supporting it. So yes, I support the current system.
Thank you. Janet?
I do not support the current system. I support a ward-only vote in the primary as well as in the general. That is your representation. The people who live in Ward 3 need to have the power to elect the person representing them on the city council, including making those citywide votes, because that individual is accountable back to their ward. It's confusing as it is now. It's part of the reason I believe that we have such low voter turnout. I would also support a change in the charter to get the elections placed with the on-year elections as opposed to this off-year cycle. That, of course, is a bigger animal and would take legal counsel to weigh in and probably a vote. But until we get the voter turnout, you will never be properly represented.
All right. Thank you.
Shall I start?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Sorry. Sadie, would you like to answer that question?
Yes, please. So I do not support the current system. I think that our ward residents should elect the person that they feel is best to serve them. And it should be like that in the primary, it should be like that in the general. Really, the city is the only jurisdiction that I can think of where other folks outside of our boundary lines get to vote for us. It's not like that in the school districts. It's not like that in the Board of Supervisors race or the congressional races as well. And so it makes sense that all of our political subdivisions would only vote for those who do represent them. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will begin with Janet at this question. Do you support Norte-Sur? And how would you address potential displacement of multi-generational families?
I didn't hear you.
Do you support Norte-Sur? And how would you address potential displacement of multi-generational families?
Well, to be honest, I don't know what that is, but it sounds to me like it's an immigration policy. It's a process involving the immigration policy. Again, I would point to the city charter and what the responsibility is of the council. Right now, we have a problem in our city with crime, poor roads, inadequate parks, and a high poverty rate. And I believe that's because you have a council that has overextended themselves. Rather than focusing on what the core charter requirements are, they've gone beyond what is asked of them. Your tax dollars only go so far. I say let's focus on what the charter dictates, and then we move out to the nice-to-haves later. My apologies for not understanding or knowing about the program. Thank you.
Sadie?
Well, Norte Sur is a transportation proposal that would go down Stone Avenue all the way to the airport. And I'm not surprised you don't know it because the city has done a really poor job in getting the word out. In fact, I can't even keep track of all the different proposals. At first it was they're going to do one lane of traffic both ways down Stone, and now it's a light rail from the bus station to the airport. And so, you know, I am very worried about Norte Sur. I do not support it because I think it will displace longtime residents. All of the homes that they hope to build on this transit line are going to be for folks who are, you know, upper income. And so it's not going to help my neighborhood out. It's going to displace residents. It's going to be urban renewal all over again.
Thank you. Kevin?
Yeah, Norte Sur came out of the Thrive in the 05 emphasis for the city, where we've been putting a lot of resources and attention into the 85705, a very poor part of Tucson, a very poor part of Ward 3. I do support it. I think we're a long ways from it happening. And it's going to be split into two projects. The part that will affect Ward 3 is the rapid bus transit from the Tohono Tadai station near Tucson Mall to downtown. So it would create a great transportation opportunity for people to get downtown, and especially to commute on it. Displacement on any project is something that needs to be concerned, and affordable housing needs to be something that we...
Excuse me, sir. Whoever it was, can you please? That's all right. We all have that problem. Kevin, please continue.
We need to deal with displacement with any project. It's not going to be like the Tucson Community Center urban renewal. It will add another lane possibly, or 2 lanes to Stone, so that there can be a dedicated line for these fast buses. A long way out, there'll be studies, there'll be citizen input. People who don't live in that area probably didn't get the outreach that everybody who lives along Stone and Oracle got. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. Sadie, you're up. How would you have voted on the issue of camping in washes?
Thank you for the question. So I would have voted no. I think it's an inhumane practice, and it's going to put neighbors in a really tough situation. In Sugar Hill, when they cordoned off the park to move the encampments, those folks moved into the alleyways of our neighborhood, moved onto the sidewalks, and honestly, that creates a difficult situation for residents. If folks want to stay in an area like the Rito Wash or other washes because they have tree canopies, they should be allowed to do that. Moving folks from here to there only creates more of an issue for those people. It makes them, you know, it puts them in jeopardy because, you know, it's destabilizing. And so I would have absolutely voted no. It criminalizes homelessness, and it just pushes people into places that are even more inconvenient for them and Tucson residents.
Thank you. Kevin?
Well, I did vote no. And how we deal with homeless encampments is a very complicated issue. I've written a guest editorial for the Star, and it hasn't been published yet, explaining my vote, but I printed out some copies that are out on the table there. We have laws that prevent people, that we can remove people from washes when they're doing bad things. When they're starting fires, when they're too close to a school, to a business, to a residence. We move people out of washes regularly right before monsoon season because it's dangerous. We didn't need to add this criminal element, and the motivation behind it was in reaction to a state law, which I thought was the wrong thing to do. Very complicated. Agree with Sadie. We got to get away from the whack-a-mole, and the real solution is finding places where people can camp safely, sleep in their cars safely. We don't have that part yet. We have a lot of places, shelters, and the city is working on that quite a bit. Thanks.
Thank you. Janet?
I would have voted yes. It's inhumane to allow people to camp in our washes. It's dangerous. It's bad for our environment. And we're not helping people by just ignoring the problem. Again, if we have a fentanyl problem, we have a mental health crisis, and we need to deal with the situation with compassion and care. There is nothing compassionate by allowing someone to suffer alone in our washes and in our parks. We've seen where camping, sanctioned camping, has failed epically, and a continuation of the problem. There are shelters that on any given day are only at 50% capacity. If it needs be, then we need to facilitate care into those facilities, into our mental health facilities. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we begin with Kevin. You have the first crack at this one. What is the role of neighborhood associations in contributing to the city's overall quality of life?
I love neighborhood associations, and I have to say that because my wife has been president of our neighborhood association for 13 years, despite my encouraging her to find a replacement. My policy all along has been to support neighborhood associations. I sponsored several meetings where we brought leaders together to share information. The city has an office with 2 staff members who help neighborhood associations, and Ward 3 helped start a neighborhood association in Ward 3. In addition, I initiated an autonomous nonprofit group, Friends of Ward 3, that is available as a 501c3 to work with neighborhood associations to find funding, as I recognize that city funding is not going to continue to be available for some of the great projects that are happening in Ward 3. Neighborhood associations create resilience and sustainability. Knowing your neighbors helps deal with crime and fear and isolation. I think everybody should be involved in a neighborhood association.
Thank you. Janet?
Well, I think like anyone else, I have a love-hate relationship with my association, right? What do you mean my weeds are too tall? It benefits our communities in many ways, but I also feel for people who do not have homeowners associations that they should be getting equal support and maintenance from the city of Tucson. My association takes on everything from road maintenance to pool maintenance to anything else, whereas neighborhoods down the street from me don't have those same resources, and as such, their roads have deteriorated. I don't know. I don't know if I love them or not, but I'll tell you this much, I'll work with them to make sure that their needs are being met, just as I would work with any individual, whether they belong to an association or not.
Thank you. Sadie?
So as a neighborhood association officer, I'm currently the vice president of Sugar Hill. I was formerly the president. I do love our neighborhood associations. I think they're a great resource for residents who aren't under a homeowners association. We don't have the benefits of an HOA where, you know, there are like consistent improvements. We also don't have to pay dues, thankfully. But it is a way for neighbors to organize among themselves and advocate as a voting bloc for improvements. Oftentimes, neighborhood associations, though, are just a select few people. You know, maybe you'll have a handful of people, maybe you'll have 2 people show up. In the past, the city has done a lot to help folks get organized. They used to put out a newsletter every month for neighborhood associations, one that got mailed to each resident or business within the area. Now it's down to one a year. And so we have a lot of work to do as the city to help folks within a neighborhood association boundary find the resources.
Okay, this is the last question of our planned period, and it's a great one. And we begin, as we did in the beginning, with Janet. What are your 3 priorities for our city, and how will you work with other council members and mayor to bring those to fruition?
Public safety, roads, parks, and recs, all 3 of which are dictated by the city charter. That is our roadmap for how the city government should function. Public safety is extremely complex, involves everything from police to fire, to 911 operators, and yet, year after year, they're funded less each time around. And then, in the same breath, we worry about, oh, we have a crime problem. It's time to fully fund those departments. Take care of the issues, and then move on to the nice to have. It really does boil down to prioritizing what is most important for your constituency, and then moving on. Thank you.
Thank you. Sadie?
So number one, my priority would be addressing the housing crisis. Folks who are unhoused now need a lot of help. There has been a reduction in transitional units and also shelter beds from 2023 to 2024. If you can imagine, that's insane to think about when we know that there are resources available. We need to increase that. And we also need to offer more resources to those who are housed but are struggling. There's thousands of Tucsonans who are on the brink of homelessness just because rents have gotten so high. Second, I hope to improve our public spaces, our parks, making sure that they are, well maintained, that they're safe, that, there's shade, there's money that was supposed to do that, but, the city's over budget already. And then last but not least, I want to make sure that we have open government and that the citizens have a say in how things are done in the city, and that there's more participation and it's not manufactured consent.
Thank you. Kevin?
Acknowledging, addressing, and mitigating the effects of climate change in Tucson and how it relates to affordable housing, transportation, extreme heat, and water security is my first one. I pack a lot into everyone. Second one is creating a more sustainable and resilient city through climate-smart infrastructure and infill development, along with appropriate business recruitment and retention. Third, supporting neighborhood infrastructure and public services, including public safety. And by the way, I'm endorsed by the Firefighters Union and the Police Union. Then improve quality of life, like sidewalks, street lighting, green infrastructure, and transit. I have a record of 3.5 years of how I work with my colleagues. I'm congenial. I work well with others. I support other people's and criticize their suggestions in a collegial way, and I try to support the mayor and the colleagues in the important things that we are doing to work together to make this a better city. Thanks.
Thank you. So we are at the wonderful closing statement part of our forum.
Oh.
This is where we get to hear from our candidates their final thoughts before we adjourn and say thank you to everyone, which we will do. And so as we began, we will begin again. Janet, would you like to give your 90-second closing statement?
Well, first of all, thank you for your time, and thank you to my peoples for their time as well. It's very important to get this message out. At the end of the day, the most important thing to me is voter turnout. We need to engage our audiences, and you have initiated that step. I thank the League of Women Voters for recording this, because that also helps us get out that vote. This is your community.
Oh, I think that'll be either 30 seconds or 15 seconds. It was a 90-second close.
I'll take it. Which one is it? You guys now, come on. Come on.
Go ahead.
Let's start over. No, just joking. Look, I don't have all the answers. I may have 30-plus years of experience. I may have an advanced degree, but I don't have all the answers. What I have is a willingness to listen to a constituency that for far too long has been stifled. We see that stifling at the mayor and council meetings. We see that stifling through the voting structure that we've already explained and talked at verbatim. And we see it even in our inability to have common sense conversations with opposition. It's okay to not always agree. You won't always agree with me. I won't always agree with you, but I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, I will listen to everything you have to say, and I will reconsider that. Now, I ran for mayor of Tucson. I also ran for Board of Supervisors 3s. My ideas have not remained stagnant. They have changed with your input, and I feel you make me better.
Thank you. Sadie, you got 90 seconds.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for listening and for your questions. I think all of us here, all of my opponents, we all want Tucson to be better. So the question for you is, who can really get the job done? I am a vocal advocate for the issues of Tucsonans, whether they're in Ward 3, whether they're Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Libertarians. If an idea is good, then we should pursue that, okay? And I'm also flexible, and I'm also willing to learn more. I've done it on the dais over at TUSD, where, when folks come to our meetings and they speak at the call to the audience, I'm willing to change my position if it makes sense for TUSD or for Tucson. And so I think we need leaders who will not vote with their friends just because they feel pressured to. We need leaders who will vote for the people, okay? And we're not seeing that much on the mayor and council. I'm willing to be the squeaky wheel at the city, just like I have been in TUSD, and I want to get the job done because we need new leadership. Tucson is at a turning point, and I want to see it do better. So I hope I have your support. Please feel free to reach out to me after this event if I need to answer any more questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Thank you, League. Thank you to my fellow candidates, and thanks to all of you for coming. We need more people like you who are involved and are asking questions. These are strange, bizarre times, and it's not coming much out of City of Tucson mayor and council. It's coming out of the federal government. And I think my colleagues and I are a team that are working to make sure Tucson suffers the least impacts possible. I've been able to do some great programs. I've been able to serve the residents of Ward 3, and I'm asking to continue that for another 4 years. I'm running on my accomplishments and what my office has done. It's there to see. You can go back and look at our newsletters, look at mayor and council meetings. They're all online. And if you think someone else can do it better, vote for them. I ask for your support. I'm having a lot of fun. I think I'm having some good impact. I think over my career I've learned how to do this, and I want to continue to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're at the end, and so now we want to say thank you to everyone. The League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is so pleased that the candidates said yes. Thank you so much for saying yes. This was such a great place to be today. And that you, informed voters, came and asked wonderful questions. I loved it. So we know something about the primary, and you have more information now about how you would like to vote. You know, the League is an all-volunteer, nonpartisan organization that is committed to educating and assisting the public to understand the issues and to learn about candidates for office. And we always welcome new members. Okay. Just saying. If you are not already registered, please register to vote and then vote. So we want to thank the Flowing Wells Library for so graciously providing this space and providing the setup for this space. So now it's time where we can hoot and holler and say thank you to the candidates for an outstanding forum, and then give yourselves a hand too for being terrific, present, informed voters. So yay!